Hello and good evening, this is Rebel Radio on 92.5 Phoenix FM, Metal Radio for Dublin 15, radio built by volunteers, broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Shopping Centre and streaming on phoenixfm.ie and all internet radio outlets. I'm Ian McWilliams, not at Tool in the Tree Arena, but I'm with you playing an hour of great Irish metal. Tonight's show is all about the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses final that's happening in Fibbers tomorrow night. I'll be playing tracks from the 6 bands performing, and I also have an interview I did with one of the organisers of the event, Oran O'Byrne from Overdrive.ie. So let's kick off with one of the bands. Here's Dublin grindcore band Aborted Earth with Corrupt Moral Altar on Rebel Radio on 92.5 Phoenix FM. Let the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses Battle of the Bands hour begin. This is Rebel Radio with Ian McWilliams on 92.5 Phoenix FM. Joining me now is Oran O'Byrne from Overdrive.ie to tell us about the final of the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses Battle of the Bands. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me, Oran.
Thanks, Ian. Good to be on. Thank you so much.
No problem. You're welcome. Oran, before we go into the Metal to the Masses, can you tell us about Overdrive.ie?
Yeah. Okay. In a nutshell, it's I suppose it's an online music magazine, and it encapsulates all underground music that from the heavier side of things. So we would do everything from metal, extreme, punk, hardcore, crossover, anything really, that falls under that umbrella. And it's been in operation for 9 years. Next year is the 10th anniversary of it. And in that time, we have, risen from just, the idea was to become, a big entity and to cover as much as we can. A lot of people think that it is a, quote, Irish music, heavy music site. We are based in Ireland, but we talk about all types of music, heavy music from everywhere, from all over the place. That was the idea, and we open up, the doors to as many people that want to come in and read it as possible. And while we have that large captive audience, we talk about obviously Irish metal as well, which is very important to us. So the idea, to answer your question, it's an online metal music magazine that talks about metal from all over the world, and we pay attention to Irish metal as well. So we bring in audiences from Australia, South America, and they're reading about the usual stuff, but then they're also discovering about Irish metal. So that's pretty much kind of what we do.
Who thought the name Overdrive? Was it yourself or did?
It was me. Yeah, everything is pretty much me. It was my idea. I came up with the name. It actually started off as a design service, and because I thought there was a gap in the market at the time. There was nowhere where you could go to get your band logos and album covers and whatnot designed, and I figured if there was a place where that could happen, then that would be great. So we built the website, and then once the website was there, in order to sort of keep it interesting, we just had this very small little blog on the website, and then that became this huge thing that sort of took over. So we took all the design stuff off the associated with Overdrive, and that's now set up as mainstagedesign.com, and that deals with, like, we produce, manufacture large backdrops that you see in clubs, mid-sized venues, arenas, festivals, customized drum skins, logo design, all that type of stuff. So that we separated those entities, and Overdrive itself just became this it just swelled into this big sort of we took a different approach to a more sort of broad approach to metal in general, as I said earlier, but then also talking about local stuff that's happening in Ireland too on top of it. So I've interviewed Megadeth and Maiden and Gojira and Anthrax and Testament and Avenged Sevenfold and Slash and big names. Like we've had some big interviews. I mean the kind of one that comes to mind anyway is Tobias Ford from Ghost. I had an hour and a half with Tobias when they were in Slane, in his dressing room in the backstage area. And the interview, as soon as I published it, it was immediately viral. And a lot of the stuff that we publish on Overdrive gets picked up by the likes of Blabbermouth and even Metal Hammer and Kerrang and Louder and Metal Injection and all those other sites.
Who's on your wish list for future interviews?
Oh gosh, I would say, well, I have met and spent time and socially with Metallica a very long time ago, and spent some time with them, but I've never interviewed them. I had the opportunity to fly to New York to interview Metallica upon the release of Hardwired, their last studio album, but just couldn't get over there. So I'd like to interview Metallica. I'd like to interview, oh gosh, I want one that was on my list forever was Sean Yusfeld from White Zombie, but I interviewed Sean and that was amazing. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm just looking around my walls.
Your wall of fame.
Yeah, I suppose.
Damn.
Yeah, I'd like to interview Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. I'd like to interview Yeah, there's some of the more classic musicians, from back in the day. Because they just have a wonderful perspective about the way they, they've seen this scene from its basically seed and grow into what it is now. So I suppose like Angus Young, I'd love to interview Angus Young, and I'd love to interview Jimmy Page or Robert Plant. I'd like to interview Ozzy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. But I mean, these guys are just very, 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 very difficult to get to, and it's a whole other level, So yeah.
You also have another project as well besides Overdrive and Main Stage Design. Would you mind telling us what that is?
About Main Stage Design?
Oh no, well we know about Main Stage Design because you mentioned earlier.
I guess I have a number of things. So I'm also a journalist I write occasionally for You Discover, the Universal website, and I write for Fistful of Metal magazine, the print magazine that exists. It's published outside within the UK, and it's it's a real, tangible, hold it in your hands metal magazine. And I've just started writing for. It's not public knowledge yet, so I've just started writing for a new Irish magazine that is coming out later on this month. And it's called the GOO, GOO, which stands for the Going Out magazine. And it's going to be available free in venues and clubs and restaurants and bars throughout Dublin City. And it's all about the live events and entertainment in Dublin. And they approached me to ask and write about metal music and punk and hardcore and extreme metal, which I'm delighted about because it's finally getting a voice in quite a large and distributed free print publication. So I am a journalist in that aspect. I also am a band manager, and I manage a number of bands, and I also do consultation for management strategy with bands. And I'm a PR publicist. Kind of I wear many, many hats because again, in this country, it's extremely difficult for a band in Ireland to break out of the country into even into the UK market. There is so much talent in the country, but they literally don't know where to go. They don't know, what do I do when I've released my single or my album? What do I do? How do I get labels and magazines and radio stations in Germany and Finland and Sweden and England and France and Australia and America to hear my music? So over my time in this industry, and I used to live in London for a period of time and San Francisco, so I've got quite a lot of contacts in these places. And I just started to help out bands, and then it became, I saw that it was actually, generating a lot of publicity for them. So I've become in one of my many branches of services is that I do publicist work for bands as well. And yeah.
Can you tell us about the Bloodstock Metal to the Mast?
Yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, it is an opportunity for unsigned bands or bands that are, starting out, local scene bands, to get some stage time at Bloodstock on their quote new blood stage. And the idea was put together by Simon Hall, who is a booking agent for Bloodstock Festival. And the idea is to host a series of showcases and, have the audience participate in it, where they get to kind of vote on who they think is a band that they enjoyed or whatever. And then there you have your judges' votes. There's all that in the mix. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's about exposing a grassroots kind of unpublicized corner of the metal world, I suppose, where so many excellent bands are just not getting heard. And then they're struggling to break out of their local scenes, but they're not getting a platform to play on, to a big platform. And at Bloodstock, so the capacity of the festival is 20 to 25,000 people. And, this new blood stage, it's a big stage. And the people get to go and check out this stage and check out this awesome new music from multiple regions across the UK. You have Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland. I think there's Norway. I think there's like 32 different regions.
Ooh.
So there's great bands that come from all of these areas, and they get a chance then to get up on stage at Bloodstock, and they can avail of the entire press area and meet label people, A&R people, other media platform, magazines, radio stations, whatnot, do a ton of press, just talk about their band and kind of, open a lot more doors that they normally wouldn't get, I mean, it's been great for Dead Label. It's been brilliant for 10 Ton Slug and Psychosis. Psychosis were invited back twice, I think. It was once or twice. And they played on the Sophie Lancaster stage here, and that's in front of 8,500 people, and 10 Ton Slug, the same. And, people, they will probably tell you that, that it opened up a huge platform for them in the UK, because people are watching, promoters are watching, and, they're always really interested in what comes out of Ireland, because, we've delivered such amazing bands over the last, taking out the pandemic, the last 8 years, there's been just every band that comes in from Ireland. Like the people I see over there say to me, it doesn't even matter. They may not even know the genre of the band. They just know that they're the Irish Metal to the Masses winners, so they have to be good. We're going to check them out, So with regard to that, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I've been involved with it for since late 2013 into 2014, and it's gone through a lot of changes. And we've streamlined it down. I've streamlined it down to it's now 35 bands and over 12 events. And we are left with 6 bands. And then Simon comes to he's in attendance for the final, which is happening this Saturday. And the bands get to play in front of a booking agent who is quite a respected booking agent for a major UK festival. And it's up to the band as well. I mean, it's not kind of, like that's the be all and end all of everything. It's up to the band to use these opportunities to see what they can do with it, to meet people and discuss and present themselves and put on a great show and get their name out there. And that has led to offers being made to some of the Irish bands to play at Metal Days and Vakin and Summer Breeze and stuff like that. So it's a fantastic opportunity,
Who's competing in this year's final?
So this year's final, there are 6 bands, 6 amazing bands. So Aborted Earth are playing. For Knoth, Jet Fuel Chemistry, Tombs from Limerick, great band, Vendetta Love, and Unmaker. So there's 6 bands. So you have Aborted Earth, kind of grindcore, for Knoth or melodics of death metal. Jet Fuel Chemistry are very genre fluid. They're post kind of metalcore, but also have a lot of just kind of straightforward, in your face kind of hard rock vibes about them. Tombs are what they sound like. They're just heavy, sludgy, amazing gorgeousness. Vendetta Love, just Alice in Chains, high energy, grungy rock, and then Unmaker are just, blistering thrash, So there's a really good mix there. There's a really good eclectic mix. And 6 bands all playing for 30 minutes each, free admission. So it's a big night,
I'll be there.
One of those bands will be picked to play on the New Blood stage, and possibly a second band will be picked to play on the Jaeger stage, depending on how Simon feels. We have no clue. We know nothing about who he's going to pick or anything. I just don't know until he utters the name of the band on stage into the microphone. So it's really exciting. It's great.
And how did the bands ever sign up for the event?
So basically, I just put out a notice on social media roughly around about the beginning of September, just saying that there's an online application form. Any bands that want to apply, just click the link and they just fill in the application form, and we close the applications then roughly about November, and then we whittle them down to 35 bands, and then those 35 bands are contacted, and we say that this is kind of basically what it is. You will play one showcase, and depending on a crowd vote or a judge's vote, you will either not make it to the next show, or else you will go through to the semi-finals, and then likewise you might get into the final. So at the most you'll play 3 shows. That's basically it. They just apply through on overdrive.ie. Every September it will pop up saying that applications are open. So the process starts in September. The bands are picked and put in place by mid to late November. Then we announce all the 35 bands who are taking part in December, and then all the shows are announced by the end of December, and the shows always start in late January, and the final is always around about the start of May.
Who will be judging the event?
Simon Hall, booking agent from Bloodstock. Yeah.
Do you get to judge on it?
Well, not on the final, no, because it's as I said earlier, it's completely Simon's call. I mean, he might ask me a few questions about some of the bands and get my opinion on them, but by no means is it there's no finality to it. I mean, he really has the final say, and he goes in there blind, so to speak, and just waits for the showcase to happen and make his decision based on that.
What are we fighting for?
does this year's final compare to previous years?
In terms of the lineup, it's incredibly strong, and it's probably our most eclectic finale, grand final that we've ever had. I mean, there's just really kind of difference. Every band has a very different kind of sound there, you know.
Do you think following the 2-year COVID pandemic with no gigs, that interest in this year's event will be at a good high?
Well, it was, yeah. You could definitely see when we eventually got around to the first event. I mean, the place was packed, and you know, the energy was electric in the air. You know, I got up on stage and I kind of opened up proceedings for the evening, and people were just like, from the first band that got up on stage, I mean, the whole place just opened up. I've never seen that before. Yeah, it was, I suppose, you know, it was great to see. It's kind of emotional in some ways as well. I mean, for a lot of people, I had been to events prior to that. I was at Bloodstock last summer, and I was over in the UK for the Heavy Music Awards, and I saw Turnstile in the UK. So I'd been to quite a few shows myself. But for some people, you know, they hadn't been in a venue for 2 years. So yeah, there was a definite, you notice that, you know, people are there, you know, the place is full when the bands are on. And then when it's not, they're going into the smoking area, they're getting their drinks or whatever, but they all come back when the next band are on. And a few years ago, you know, you kind of see people drifting in and out. It was like they'd sort of taken it for granted, I guess, which is just human nature. But yeah, look, I'm happy to say it's been a very successful year in terms of audience. It's been really healthy. We've had wonderful support. A lot more media sponsors have come on, and yeah, it's been fantastic. All the bands have just been amazing, like really strong, brilliant, super talented bands that are just criminally overlooked by the bigger media music platforms in this country.
What have been your favorite moments from the past Metal to the Masses?
Gosh, there's so many. I mean, I've been doing it for, you know, since 2013. I mean, it's great to see just the passion, like seeing every single final is great, are great memories, you know? And I love hearing about bands that become really good friends with each other, you know, like Two Tails of Woe became really good friends with 10 Ton Slug, and Psychosis became really good friends with Creep, you know, two very different types of music. And, you know, bands that are just, you know, like I'm just kind of seeing off the back of this year's showcases that I'm seeing gigs now where it's like Unmaker with, you know, whatever, this band or that band, you know, and these are all like, you know, Neon Empire with Unmaker, and, you know, these bands that would not normally kind of fraternize with each other or do shows together tend to do shows together off the back of them and their experience. They're hanging out with each other through Metal to the Masses, you know, and I think that's a brilliant thing. I'd love to see that. But yeah, I mean, there are just some bands that, like, for me, great memories are like when I'm over there at Bloodstock and like seeing 10 Ton Slug annihilate that stage, you know, and the audience just so receptive to them. And Psychosis, you know, just bringing the house down on the New Blood stage that first year, and Dead Label just knocking it out of the park, a huge, you know, wall of death that extended from the front barrier all the way to the sound desk. I mean, that's, you know, you're looking at half the length of the football pitch, you know. And I mean, just great to see all these things, and great to see the bands networking and using their tools and their confidence, you know, not just being led along, okay, you're playing at Bloodstock and they go Bloodstock, but like actually, you know, using that as a productive stepping stone tool and getting out there and introducing themselves to the likes of Metal Hammer and Kerrang and Total Rock and all of the other media platforms that are there on site, you know, that you'd never normally get to meet. These people are all there in this one area for 3 days. You know, the people that, if you're from a band in, you know, Portlaoise or Sligo or Cavan or Tipperary or, and you're trying to get your music heard by particular journalists in Metal Hammer or get it onto Kerrang Radio, all of these people are at Bloodstock, and you can walk up to them and introduce yourself and make an impression. And it has worked. I've seen great things happen off the back of that, you know? So I mean, for me, it's just all I want to see are these bands get out of this country and get a shot at a proper career. Because as I said, it's a dead end here. It's a dead end.
Well, you've done a good job there. I'll give you that. Finally, Iran, what do you want to say to everyone for supporting Overdrive.ie and the Bloodstock Metal to the Masses?
Just very simply, thank you from the bottom of my heart so much. You know, I never expected Overdrive to be as big as it is. Kind of still blows my mind. Sometimes I have to pinch myself that I'm doing this for a living. This is my only, you know, I don't have another job. You know, I work in this industry as a consultant, band manager, a music graphic designer. I run Overdrive. I'm a journalist. So everything I do revolves around Overdrive. So, I mean, I'm just eternally grateful for the support and people understanding that what we're doing is Overdrive is about music from all over the world. Hardcore, you know, industrial, classic heavy metal, you know, stoner, extreme, thrash, whatever you want to call it. Heavy metal, essentially. And, you know, what we want to do is we want to enjoy great music and we want to tell other people about great music. And, you know, that means that it's bands from Greece and Turkey and England and America and Australia and New Zealand, but also the stuff that we're seeing here in our backyards. You know, we do that. You know, we get our content based on bands need to contact us, send press releases through with their information, you know. And if bands are not sending out press releases, then how are we ever supposed to know the details about the album, about the single, who's in the band, where are you from? How are we supposed to write about it if we know nothing about it? Sure, we hear about things, we chase things up, but as I said, I'm getting like 120 to 160, 180 emails a day, you know? And then on top of that, you know, we're conducting, you know, very high profile interviews with big bands because we bring in an international audience. Is a kid in Iowa, will he click a link about a band that's from, you know, Cavan? No, probably not. But will he click a link on an interview that he sees an exclusive interview about Slipknot? Well, then yes, he is. And then when he's on the website, he might say, oh, who's this band from Cavan? You know, and that has happened a lot. Like a lot of Irish bands have been discovered through Overdrive, not been discovered, but like people have discovered bands from Ireland via Overdrive by coming in to read interviews about, you know, Clutch or Testament or whatever, who we're writing about. And then they'll mooch around the website and they'll kind of see that there's a whole scene in Ireland and they'll pick up on that and they'll go in and check it out, you know? So if we had a website that was exclusively about Irish metal, you know, the numbers would be very, very low because it's not widely known. It's not even widely known in this country, you know? So the idea is to have a website that deals with all types of great music from across everywhere. But we talk about the stuff that's from here too. And we bring in a much, much bigger audience, you know? And then with any luck, then they will listen to our playlists. They'll read interviews that we've done with many Irish bands, and then they will, you know, check them out. So my last thing really is like, just want to say thank you to everyone for all their support. Thank you for, you know, reading the website, for being part of our, you know, socials, for getting involved in Metal to the Masses, coming down to the shows. You know, it's without these people, none of this would exist. So a big thank you to everybody.
Iran, thank you for taking the time to talk to me again about Overdrive and Bloodstock Metal to the Masses.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a pleasure.
Well done to everything you've achieved with both. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Best of luck to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
On these city streets I wait, I walk alone, wrapped in rags on the corner, soaking to the bone. People passing by, they look and warmth can break my bond. Be my Indian sun, be something that I need. Leave me in my ruins underneath the cool breeze. Help me now, forever to sell me out. 'Cause I want out. She's made of stone. The blood tonight is all my own. I only notice when she's gone again. Help me now, forever to sell me out. I want it to feel the rush of life again. Can the rain wash me all away? Can I feel a thing? I know his body's made of stone. The blood tonight is on his own. He runs again, I walk alone again. Come and free me from my cage and lead me out of my tasteless rage. Let the rain wash me away again. Come and free me from my cage. Bleed me out of all my rage. Let the rain wash me away again. Let the face run wild and say you live from love. to the bone. They open your eyes, stare into your soul. Open up the dark, it's what you to that. Let the big one wild and take them from
This is the Rebel Radio Bloodstock Metal to the Masses final special with Ian McWilliams on 92.5 Phoenix FM. In this show, you heard a 3-part interview I did with Orano Burney from Overdrive.ie, who's one of the people behind the event. I would like to say thanks to Oran for doing the interview with me. Stay tuned to Rebel Radio as I'll have more interviews soon. You also heard tracks from the 6 bands that are competing in the final in Fibbers tomorrow night. You heard Aborted Earth with Corrupt Moral Altar, Fornot with Frost, Jet Fuel Chemistry with War, Tombs with Attila the Pun, Vendetta Love with Walk Alone, and Unmaker with Limb from Limb. For more information on the event, visit Bloodstock Metal to the Mass on social media, overdrive.ie or one of their social media pages. Rebel Radio supports all Irish rock and metal, and if you're in an Irish rock or metal band or a singer that wants your music aired, contact me at ianmcwilliamsrebelradio@gmail.com or on one of the show's social media pages at Ian McWilliams Metal Radio Show on Facebook and Rebel Radio on Instagram and Twitter. Check out the website for the show at ianmcwilliamsrebel.wixsite.com/Rebel Radio. That finishes my lot for another week. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. For my last track, I'm going to leave you with something from the All Ireland Metal Project Azri's new and final Volume 3 album, which they launched at their successful fundraising gig for Women's Aid last Friday. I was there and it was cracking. This is called Plagues. Have a great week and stay safe. I'll talk to you all next week on Rebel Radio.